This episode of the Operatory Podcast is brought to you by HungryDino.com. In less than 3 minutes, you can find out what outdated policies, procedures, and technology you are using and how much it is costing you. Take the quick survey at HungryDino.com. Welcome to the Operatory Podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. With me, as always, providing the patient perspective is David Pryor. How are you doing, sir?
Good, Brian. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm jazzed, man.
Okay.
I'm completely jazzed. I am. What do you think? Like, what are the things that, aside from the normal stuff, like my kids and getting married and all that stuff, what do you think provides me on a sort of month-to-month, week-to-week, quarter-to-quarter basis what I get the most jazzed about?
New toys.
New toys, exactly. like I don't know if there's other. This is one of those things, maybe a little bit too much about Brian, but my it's probably true. One of the things that Dave and I have in common, like when you get the new video game system, it's like the best.
Yes.
Right. I mean, unpackaging that and. There's just you can go back. I could probably list off every video game system I've ever had, up to the Oculus Quest that I just got. Right, where it's like every piece of technology. It's just fun, right?
Yep.
So what we're going to be talking today about is something new at Opera that we're going to be launching. Probably by the time this podcast goes live, and certainly it's already out there. So people, I would recommend that they go and check it out. But it is really what I would say accumulation of many, many years of my work kind of put together to help other people. Like, I've been doing dentistry for over 20 years, been doing technology in dentistry for about 15 years, from beta testing from other people's CAD/CAM systems and CT imaging and training, and then developing our own technologies. Opera DDS, Opera VR, being parts of lots of technology companies, and I've beaten my head across the walls of the hall as I've been trying to navigate from that 800 square foot practice up to where we are today, where I'm working with Dental Care Alliance, over 300 practices, phenomenal organization where I'm helping implement technology and innovation, and we have kind of taken a lot of that and we're putting it together and packaging it for other people. You know what I'm talking about, Dave?
I do. I have taken a look at Upgrade, so I think it's a fantastic roadmap for new and mid-career dentists. I think it's one of the things that I'm particularly excited about with this is that it's you giving exactly that, the roadmap of how to avoid some of the pitfalls and capitalize on a lot of the successes that you've had so that their career can go a lot more smoothly, and you can just lay it out for them and say, here, do this and you will be successful.
Yes. Yeah. What Dave's kind of opened the box on a little bit is called Upgrade Dental. Upgrade, because I feel like, just like we say in the beginning of the podcast, it's about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past the outdated technology procedures to find a better way, and upgrading dentistry in general. And we are giving you the roadmap of how to upgrade your practice. And there's going to be multiple sort of layers to the upgrade cake, so to speak. But we are sort of starting off. You can go to upgradedental.com and download our technology roadmap. And what that does, just like Dave said, is it shows what I believe to be the steps from beginning through emerging technologies of what technology you should implement when. Because I believe technology is like a snowball, right? What happened in my practice, the first piece of technology that I incorporated in my practice was digital scheduling. Mm-hmm. That's, that to me sound probably to a lot of the audience. I'm like, used to use a paper schedule. Absolutely. I was a dentist for 20 years. I'm a dinosaur, right? But I don't use dinosaur technology. To a lot of our audience, they're probably like, seriously? You had a book? And I was scared. I was so scared to switch from that big book to putting that paper calendar onto the computer. I don't know if you remember that. 'Cause
I do. I actually do remember
We've been
that.
friends for twice that long, but
Yeah.
but I was scared. And a consultant that I had had to convince me to do it. And I was like, well, how am I going to look at my schedule? I'm laughing at myself now, right? But that's what happens with technology. You take that first step and you go, holy man, I was scared. I did that. It only helps everything all of the time. What is there something else that will do that? Oh, digital charts. Not just the schedule, but now my charting is on the computer, and then digital X-rays, and on and on and on. Where now it's like we're working with robotics and AI and emerging technologies and creating virtual reality, because way back 20 years ago, I was basically forced by somebody to take my paper calendar and put it online, and not even online, on a computer, on
Right. Yep.
on a computer,
on an actual desktop.
to go from like the what, I don't know how big those appointment books were, but they're huge, right? Let's look at next week. And it was so scary to take that paper calendar and put it on the computer, and since then, I've kind of gotten to the point where we're developing technology. So I've gone from being being very scared to take that first step to now I'm looking at what else is even out there that we can bring to the industry, right? And so what I'm trying to do is take that, like you said, take that sort of what I've learned and put it on. So if you are starting, or maybe you're in the middle of the timeline, but you're going, what should I implement next? We've got that plan for you.
Right.
And then we also have resources to show you how to implement technologies, because that's the other thing that is really, we've heard other people talk about on the podcast, that in one office, if they buy a piece of technology, in office A, it's the best thing that's ever happened to the practice. It's making them money. It's saving them time. It's transformed they're loving working now. And in office B, it's a big paperweight. And if you bring in another piece of technology, you're going to have the same experience in office A and in office B.
It's nice that you point out your fear of moving away from a paper calendar, being the technology guy that you are now. I was just this morning talking to a Patterson TA, a technology advisor, Kelly Johnson out of North Dakota, where we were talking about the natural fear that everybody has about bringing on a new technology, and they don't want to break it, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't want to admit that they don't understand everything about something when they first implement it. And I think that's a natural human trait that everyone goes through. And so when somebody like you, who's always looking for some new technology, when you implement new technologies, even today, do you still have some of those fears?
Great question. And the answer is no, but I did for a very, very, very long time.
Okay.
What happens with the snowball is eventually you kind of, I remember the fear when I talk about it right now,
Yeah.
but I go from fear to excitement. Now it's like opening up the video game, right? The first time you play a video game, I don't even remember, because I was born in 1972, the same year as Pong. But probably if you if you never played video games and you're 30 years old and somebody gives you a controller, you're probably going to freak out, right? But I started off with a joystick and a button, right?
Yep.
And then actually just a joystick, Pong. Right,
yep.
I had an uncle who had one of the tabletop ones with side paneling, and
was it a dial or was it actual joystick?
It was a joystick, but it was on the side, on the vertical. So it was a tabletop Pong with 4 pieces, and then there's the fake wood. Maybe it was real wood.
Oh, it was real wood.
It was real wood. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have fake wood back then, right? And then you would just use a joystick to move the Pong paddle back and forth.
Yeah.
So now when there's 14 buttons and VR and all the stuff that's going on, it's a natural evolution, and that's what happens in dentistry, right? Because I started off with that Pong slider, and then now if there's a new video game system, I buy it day one, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. And I think that's the way all technology is. So if you start off and you go, I just got out of dental school, I've been using technology from 1910, which a lot of dental schools just don't invest in new technology. Some do, right? But they're not masters of implementing technology in dental schools. Let's be honest, right? So then do you want to go out and buy like the new emerging technologies that just came out? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Start with the things that make the most sense. Like you should have a website, right? You should have digital x-rays, because as we've talked about on the podcast, it is not okay to be using film x-rays, in my opinion, in after the year 2010, let alone today.
Okay, so in your opinion that it's not okay, is there anything that anyone could say that would convince you otherwise?
If they are like in a remote area that they don't have access to computers or something like that. I mean, I know it's more costly, less diagnostic. You can't duplicate the images. If the place burns down, so do your X. I mean, there's so many different reasons to not use film x-rays, plus chemicals. I mean, it's just worse in every way. And it's funny, I say this all the time, and I have dentists all the time say, oh, I use film because it's more diagnostic. Oh, you're wrong. No, that's what I say. And there's probably our audience members. I'd love to, if somebody who's listening to the podcast disagrees with me, I'd love to have the conversation, because I might be wrong. I just don't know. I mean, but holy man, that's actually the very first thing that I have on the timeline is digital x-rays, because I feel so strongly that whoever downloads that roadmap, I want them to look at it and go, I need to switch to digital x-rays. I have no interest in a digital x-ray company. I just think it doesn't make sense. And so with that being said, the good way to segue into kind of how we've positioned the timeline, there's 3 basic segments, and then there's going to be a 4th that's not on the timeline that you'll download that will be available once you kind of get into Upgrade, and I'll explain why. So there's 3: level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is basically exactly what we're talking about with digital x-rays. It's the standard of care. I feel like, this is Brian's guide, that if you don't have all of the things incorporated in level 1, you should. Level 2 is, if I'm a Dave Pryor, if I'm a patient and I'm coming to a dental practice, what would I expect this practice to use? Any practice. And it's not what is normal in dentistry, because oftentimes people are using paper clips with pieces of paper, which is also moronic, right? Mm-hmm. But it is the standard that's going on in over 80% of dental practices today. But if I'm a patient and I'm going to a dental practice, you should have paperless forms, period. Right. That's in level, I think it's in level 2. Level 3 is like how you wow people. That's the guided implants and the things that take dentistry and bring it to another level. So, in podcast speak, level 1 is dinosaur, right? We need to bury everything that's not level 1.
Right.
Film x-rays need to be buried. Paper charts need to be buried, right? Yellow pages should be buried. You should be using different website instead of the yellow pages. Yeah. Level 2, expected by anyone with a normal functioning human being coming to a dental practice would expect these things. And level 3 is how to wow people. Level 4 will be emerging technologies that probably don't have a place in most dental practices today, but they're coming. And as we've talked about, I view those things that are in level 4. That's kind of where I like to spend a lot of time, right? Because I love new technology now. We're developing some things that are going to be coming to market that nobody else is doing, and that's way out in level 4. And then eventually what happens when things come out that do transform the industry, they go from level 4 to level 3 to level 2 to level 1. Right. At some point, digital x-rays was emerging technology. Today, I view it as a standard of care. Right.
Yeah. I can see how that could have been a level 3 15 years ago, and now it's a level 1.
Yeah, maybe 30 years ago. But I don't know. You're probably right, 15. I can't even tell you how long I've probably been using digital x-rays for 18 years now. Okay. But yeah, at this point in time, even though a good percentage of the dentists are using film x-rays, that's why we have the podcast, because I feel so strongly that there's a lot that we need to do to upgrade dentistry.
Yeah.
So to find out more, to download your technology roadmap, go to upgradedental.com.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Brian. Have a good one.
You too. I also want to remind you to rate and review us wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you have suggestions or comments, please visit theoperatory.com and drop us a line. Again, I'm Dr. Brian Laskin, host of The Operatory. Thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking with you next week.